Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to part 3 of rock and roll on the ukulele. In the first part we learned a little rock and roll groove, and in the second part we recapped it and learned how to play it over a 12-bar blues. You don't have to use the 12-bar blues, but it is a really good example of a common chord progression where you might find the 12-bar blues, and if you can play the riff with the chord progression it sounds really stylistic, really danceable and exciting. However, we can take it one step further. There are loads and loads of rock and roll tunes that use this formula, but if we just do the same riff over and over again, if we play all these songs back to back in exactly the same way, they're going to sound a bit samey. So we need to think of some ways to really break it up, vary it up, and think about how we can create some interest and diversity, either between different songs that use the same progression, this 12-bar blues that we've been talking about, or actually within the same song, how can we vary up different sections and create a sort of flow of interest and a narrative throughout a song using our strumming. You see, even though a song might have just this 12-bar blues going round and round, a lot of them do have verses and choruses. Even if the chords are the same, the melody will change, and of course the lyrics are different as well. You take, for example, Johnny Be Good. If you think about the song, that's in the B flat, so that goes way down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, blah 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 blah. Then it gets to the chorus and it goes go, go Johnny go, go. You can hear that the melody changes even though we're doing the same thing on the instrument. So, however you're going to do this, whether it's different parts of one song or varying up a wider set list, let's talk about some ways that we can vary up the rock and roll style to make it sound really professional. One of the first things we can consider is simply to sometimes do some normal strumming and other times do the rock and roll riff. For example, you might start a song with an instrumental introduction, in which case, yeah, do the riff. And so on and so forth. Then the singing comes in for the first verse. Just go back to your normal C, F and G chords. Still a 12-bar blues, or whatever they are, doesn't have to be 12-bar blues, but just doing them normally. And then during the chorus, the most exciting part, you can add in the more exciting riff in the ukulele part as well. We can change up the riff too. A lot of the time you'll find people just alternate between the first position and the second position, and they'll leave out the third. So for example, our C shape, we can then add in the finger 2 frets higher. Normally we've been adding in another fret higher, but let's skip that one for now. Let's just do this one and alternate between the two. You find that in a lot of rock and roll as well, that sort of sixth sound. So that's actually a simpler version of the riff, which you could do in one song and then do the more complicated version in another, or you could alternate between the two. And sort of really mix it up, make a little blend, and make it sound a little bit more melodic rather than just a simple riff. This of course works on the other chords. Like that as well. So you do have some options. You can either do it normally, or you can do a simple riff, or you can do the slightly more complex riff. And again, you can think about your different sections of your songs. A few other little extra licks you can do, especially in the key of C, whilst you're in this position and reaching up to frets 5 and 6 on the E string. Let's see what happens if you do it on the A string as well. We can go to fret 5 there and you get this high D note added. If we go up to fret 6, oh yeah, now we're getting bluesy. That's a blue note, you call that. A note that fits the blues. It's very stylistic for rock and roll. And you could mix that in with the other one as well to create an interesting weaving kind of melody. This works especially great as a riff, but also as a solo as well. You can think about these notes, vary up the rhythm, and suddenly you have a solo. Something like that. It doesn't have to be very complicated, but suddenly just by changing up the strumming, skipping some strums out, adding in a few extra quick ones, and suddenly you've got a cool sounding little moment. What am I doing there? I'm just moving this little bar back a fret and sliding it up as I'm strumming down. So you do a strum and then you move. See how quick you can get it. It works on all the chords. So you can add that in too to create some interest. And finally, let's talk about some rhythms you can do in the strumming hand. So far, we've just been going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. I spoke about the strumming in part 1 of the series. But you can vary it up. A lot of the time, you just do some down, 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 downs. Rhythmically, it's the same as down, up, down, 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 down. Rhythmically, it's the same. Da, 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 da. But the effect is changed because with our harder sort of down strum, if you use the nail of a finger or something, or if you're using a pick, whatever, or even just the physical force of doing a down strum is a lot stronger than it is the up. That's quite a strong strum. That was a weaker strum, up. So if you do lots of downs, you can really hammer on this note, really dig into it. And especially if you do it on a crunchy kind of sound, it works really well. So if you find that note on the 6th fret of the A string, that force from all those downs creates something a little bit more energetic. And I just think it sounds really cool. And you may have seen me throughout the video as well throwing in a few extra little brums, a little flourish here and there. All I'm doing is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. See, it's just an extra quick down, up in the middle. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. This takes a bit of time to get the dexterity together, and this is something I like to think about like riding a bike. If you try and force it, if you think about it, it's not going to happen. Because it's so fast, you need a really loose, floppy wrist. Give your wrist a little flop like that. And just try and let your hand escape you. Takes a bit of time to get used to, and might take even more time to be at the stage where you can just command it of your hand just like that. But if you want a little exercise to practice that, you just think down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. So it's in the place of a down and an up. And putting that with the riff sounds like this. Yeah, nice, groovy. This is super ukulele. This is a course that takes you from the beginner to the intermediate level of playing. Maybe you've been playing a little while and you feel like you're stuck in a rut. You've been playing the same old chords. Or maybe you're really struggling to get past where you are because you've got some pain, some issues and things that you just can't quite seem to get over. Well, we're going to address all of those things and more in this course. We're going to learn loads of new topics and techniques and introduce them in accessible bite-sized chunks so that you can make your own progress at your own rate. We're going to look at things like finger picking, chord melody, adding some extra pizzazz to your chords, and learning how to play in some new keys. We're going to learn a few shortcuts and things to make your life a bit easier, including some simplified versions of some chords that will allow you to participate whenever those trickier chords come up at the ukulele jam. Maybe you've just bought a baritone ukulele and you're not quite sure how to use it. We've got a whole module dedicated to learning about ukulele tunings, and we'll even learn how to perform as well, how to get rid of that music stand and confidently stand up there and deliver an engaging and exciting show to your audience. At the end of the course, you'll come out a more rounded player with more knowledge and technique than you could ever imagine. We've got loads of hours of footage consisting of tutorials and play-alongs as well, with song sheets that you can download and activity packs too. There's loads to sink your teeth into with this course. I'll see you there. Okay, one last thing to talk about then. At the very end of a rock and roll song, you'll either finish with a nice neat button, the end, nice clean ending, or what's really fun to do is find a really dirty, crunchy chord and stay on it, linger on it, something like this. What I'm doing there is a C7, so we've been in the key of C this whole time, so you want to find the 7 version of the last chord. So if you're in the key of A, A7, key of F, F7, whatever. Find the 7 version and simply just do a nice big tremolo on it until you're ready to finish and cut off the sound like that. I put my fingers over there to stop the strings ringing out like that. A tremolo, I'll do another video on this at some point very, very soon. But it's basically just a very quick flourish, very quick wiggle of the hand like that. Again, try not to think about it too much. Just let it happen. So I'm going to finish up now with a couple of rounds of the 12-bar blues. Play along if you like, because the chords are going to be on screen. But the first time you watch this, just really pay attention to all the things I've spoken about. See if you can spot them in the play along. See where I use them, take note of which chords and where in the structure I might use different things, because sometimes I think like the extra little strumming flourish works well just before you change chord or just after you change chord as well. Acts like a little drum break. That's just one example of sometimes I like to use things in certain places more than others. But of course, at the end of the day, the more you get comfortable with this style, the more you can put your own spin on it and come up with your own interpretation. So here we go. Here's a little bit of rock and roll for you. So there we are. What do you think? Do you like rock and roll music? I certainly do. And I think even though the ukulele is such a plucky, happy instrument, you can really find a groove with the instrument and go back to the heyday of the 50s and 60s. Everything I've just mentioned is really stylistic and appropriate for that style of music, but it's not to say you couldn't use any of the things we've spoken about today in any other music. After all the subsequent generations would have studied rock and roll and taken inspiration and gone from there. So anything like that, you might also find examples in later music. Status quo, rock around the world, that 70s, 80s kind of sound. but that uses all these traditional 12-bar blues, rock and roll kind of things. There's music from the 70s, 80s, 90s, even today's music still takes its inspiration from the blues and rock and roll. And of course you can use it in earlier music as well, because the blues is a language, musical language, that's not just stuck to one genre. You find it in jazz and the sort of pop of the 20s, 30s, 40s, and a lot more sort of later jazz and things as well. You'll find it in pop music that sort of crosses the line with blues and stuff, like Pencil Full of Lead. That's quite a modern song. That uses the 12-bar blues and lots of those sort of blue notes. Well, I hope you found that interesting. If there's another genre you'd like me to dive into on ukulele, please do let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, give us a like and a subscribe as well, because I've got plenty more videos like this on the way. If you can't wait, then do check out this video I've got right here, available right now. I'll see you over there.